Time for the Explainer. My name is Olive Burrows, standing in for Yvonne Okwara. The highlights.
Tumekubaliana kwamba hiyo impending impeachment iahirishwe na itolewe.
Saving Governor Sakaja. President Ruto and ODM leader Odinga dissuade MCAs from impeaching Nairobi Governor Sakaja.
Pesa za kufadhili elimu ya bure katika shule za upili hazijafika na kuchelewa huko kunaadhiri service delivery.
Cash crisis in schools. Learning disruption looms as suppliers withhold services over mounting bills occasioned by delayed capitation. Wastage in government. Control of budget flags 800 million shillings expenditure on printing in the office of the president. Trailing county millions. Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok and former Bungoma Governor Wangamati plead not guilty to multi-million shillings procurement fraud. We have lots lined up, including a one-on-one interview on Power Talk with the Chief Conservator of Forests. His name is Alex Lemarkoko, and he'll be telling us what they're doing towards attaining the 15 billion planted trees target that is meant to come and have been affected by 2032. There are some awards he'll be explaining to us, and not forgetting the Karura e-Citizen Apro. We get his take. We'll also have, in the course of the Explainer tonight, we'll host the Chief and the Chair of the Council of Governors, who is also the Wajir Governor, and he'll be speaking on matters e-procurement, UHC, and impeachment. Stay tuned. I am in the esteemed company of Njoki Shege, our sign language interpreter. The principals of the broad-based government held separate meetings today to save Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja from a looming impeachment push by ward representatives. The Orange Democratic Movement Party ward representatives put the plan to impeach Governor Johnson Sakaja on hold for 30 days on the intervention of party leader Raila Odinga. On the other side, at State House Nairobi, President William Ruto secured more wiggle room for the beleaguered Sakaja, persuading UDA MCAs to work with the governor. The MCAs had expressed dissatisfaction with the handling of key issues in the capital. Kicking us off on the Explainer is Stephen Leto.
After day-long consultations chaired separately by President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga, the Nairobi MCAs have dropped the impeachment motion against Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja.
Tumeongea na watu wamezungumza na MCAs wametoa mambo yao na yamesikizwa, na vile pia leadership wametoa mambo yao ikasikizwa. Kwa hivyo kwa kauli moja tumekubaliana kwamba hiyo impending impeachment iahirishwe na itolewe.
Nairobi MCAs presented their concerns that they said were sufficient to impeach the Nairobi governor. The ward representatives, who had already secured enough signatures, accused the Nairobi governor of sidelining them and implementing development projects without consultations. The MCAs questioned how the ward development fund has been utilized and the criteria used to select projects, as well as bursaries in the county. The Nairobi governor, who was present in the two meetings, pledged to involve the county assembly through consultations in running the county. Governor Sakaja said each ward in Nairobi received its fair share of the fund, with a total of 715.8 million shillings worth of development projects in the 2022-2023 financial year, 925.6 million shillings in the 2023-2024 financial year, while 889 million shillings was set aside as ward development funds in the 2024-2025 financial year. On the issue of allocation of bursaries, Governor Sakaja told the 10th meeting that his administration allocated 1 billion shillings for more than 119,000 students in the 2022-2023 financial year, with the control of budget suspending issuance of the bursary funds by governors last year.
MCS wamelia malalamiko kiasi kama communication, mambo ya ward zao vile development inafaa kuwa kwa ward, mambo ya bursaries ambazo pengine angeza kuwekwa imekuwa address na governor vizuri. Kwa hivyo kuna yale tu developments wangetaka kwa ward zao zile wamechaguliwa yaangaliwe na yaangaziwe.
At State House, Nairobi, President William Ruto, while meeting the UDA MCAs, cautioned them against pursuing the Oster motion, saying it will distract from delivery of services to the city. President Ruto further urged the Nairobi leadership to embrace more consultations as they seek to carry out their mandate. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Wiper Patriotic Front leader Kalonzo Musyoka has criticized the government's anti-corruption campaign, terming it ineffective. Kalonzo says President William Ruto's administration has been beleaguered by scandal after scandal, turning the country into a fortress of corruption. He insists that only the opposition coalition can take decisive steps to end graft that threatens to completely stall education and health provision in the country. With that report is Willie Lusige.
One term.
The Wiper Patriotic Front under its leader Kalonzo Musyoka has accused the Kenya Kwanza administration of boasting about fighting corruption as the vice becomes entrenched in every sector, hurting Kenyans in unprecedented ways.
Scandal after scandal and attempts to sell off Kenya's crucial infrastructure on the cheap are the modus operandi of this disgraced regime. Education, for example, is in shambles from primary through to the university.
Kalonzo went on to highlight how corruption has crippled the health sector, even as the government maintains it is committed to fighting graft.
The 10.6 billion shillings was embezzled to non-existent hospitals and fake patient files, while legitimate hospitals, many of which were founded by missionaries and faith-based groups years before independence, were forced to close due to unpaid genuine claims. This is inexplicable.
The Wiper leader further linked corruption to the government's move to take over management of Karura Forest after the Friends of Karura management team resisted illegal plans to grab its land for a road project.
They must stop the nonsense. And they want to build a road through Karura. Please stop Karura. Don't deal with Karura Forest. There's a clear agreement between the Forest Association and KFS. We cannot have this country go backwards.
The Wiper Party says that through its coalition with other opposition parties, President William Ruto will be removed from office in 2027 and individuals held accountable.
As the government in waiting, we will insist on the perpetrators being tried for crimes against humanity. This rot is not just limited to the healthcare sector. The e-citizen government platform for handling public funds is a haste.
Willie Lusige, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok, former Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati, and 20 other suspects and entities have been charged with alleged procurement irregularity offences involving millions of shillings in road maintenance and bridge construction works. The suspects pleaded not guilty and were released on bond and restricted by the court from making public pronouncements about the cases, with a mention of both cases scheduled to commence on the 17th and 18th of September, respectively. Seth Olale followed the proceedings at the Milimani Law Courts.
Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok and his co-accused in the Kimende-Rit road maintenance procurement scandal, Evans Kipkoech, were charged with conflict of interest in that between 14th November 2019 and 10th March 2021 at an unknown place within the Republic of Kenya, being the governor of the county government of Bomet, knowingly acquired 2 million shillings, being payment emanating from Chemasus Construction Limited, that was awarded tender by the Bomet County government for routine maintenance of the Kimende-Rit, Kotoibek, Olbutio Bridge Road. The embattled county chief denied the allegations and was released on 5 million shillings cash bail. In an earlier case, Former Bungoma County boss Wycliffe Wangamati arrived at the Milimani Law Courts in handcuffs as he led 18 other suspects, including his two siblings, Michael Simiyu Wangamati and Edward Baraza Wangamati, in taking plea in the multi-million road and bridge construction procurement case. The first charge, conflict of interest. The former Bungoma County boss is accused of indirectly acquiring 10.5 million shillings paid through Nabwala Construction Limited, a company whose directors are his siblings Michael Simiyu Wangamati and Edward Baraza Wangamati, in connection with a tender for periodic maintenance of Chebus, Kimama Road and sport improvement of the Minata Malaha Road in 2021. In the second charge, also namely conflict of interest, Wycliffe Wangamati is accused of indirectly acquiring 9.3 million shillings paid through Nabwala Construction Limited, a company whose directors are his siblings Michael Simiyu Wangamati and Edward Barasa Wangamati, in connection with a tender for periodic maintenance of Matisi Omindo Road and periodic maintenance for roads in Masiku Ward between 2020 and 2021. In the third charge, namely conflict of interest, the former Bungoma governor is accused of indirectly acquiring 6.5 million shillings paid through Nabwala Construction Limited, a company whose directors are his siblings Michael Simiyu Wangamati and Edward Barasa Wangamati, in connection with a tender for construction of Kimama Water Supply Bridge at Chesikaki. The embattled former county chief denied all counts and was released on a 1.5 million shillings cash bail.
The accused persons are neither to contact nor interfere with any of the witnesses by themselves or through their agents.
The prosecution has been instructed by the court to avail the necessary case documents, including witness statements when the matter comes up for mention mid-September. Seth Olale, Citizen TV at the Milimani Law Courts, Nairobi County.
The Executive Office of the President spent an average of 2 million shillings per day on printing services in the last financial year. The Office of the Control of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, has revealed. The report, which flagged massive wastage in government, also showed that President William Ruto's office spent a whopping 1 billion shillings on advisors who have since reached 20 in the Kenya Kwanza administration. Imanolto has more.
On some cash crunch.
The National Government Budget Implementation Review for the financial year 2024 to 2025 has laid bare the government's expenditure of the total budget of 4 trillion shillings in the year preceding the Gen Z protests that led to the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024. And despite the pledges to reduce budgetary expenditures in unnecessary and wasteful spending to plug the deficit, it appears the government was on an overdrive to implement the contrary. The report showing that out of its total budget of 4.6 billion shillings, Harambee House spent a total of 817 million shillings on government printing services alone, translating to 68 million shillings per month and an average of 2.2 million shillings per day for the services alone. The services include paper used to print government policy, executive orders, directives and proclamations transmitted to ministries, departments and agencies, performance contracts, bi-weekly press statements, periodic government communication during the times of crisis, regional media forums, among others. The printing budget is also said to have gone higher due to the huge number of guests invited to State House for engagements, which require high-quality paper for the invitation cards. The office also spent 1.9 billion shillings for general administration, planning and support services, and 765 million shillings on leadership and coordination services. However, the report did not disclose how much was spent in the construction and refurbishment of the office, which has seen some officers relocate to higher floors in the building. The report also revealed that the office spent 1 billion shillings on government advisory services. 62 million shillings was paid for the Kenya-South Sudan advisory services, 46 million shillings on the Power of Mercy advisory, and 450 million shillings on counter-terrorism advisory services. The office also splashed 97 million shillings for advisory services on economic and social affairs, 150 million shillings on strategic policy advisory services, and 251 million shillings on public entities oversight. Nyakango's report also disclosed that State House Nairobi spent 399 million shillings on the refurbishment of the House on the Hill, with works currently at 66% and completion expected in 2027. The house, which has been a full-time construction site, has gobbled up 1.17 billion shillings so far since its construction began. A recent house tour by President William Ruto to his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta gave a sneak peek of the major works going on. Emmanuel Tor, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
All right, let's take a look at the crisis in schools, and that is where secondary schools are concerned, and the secondary school heads are sounding the alarm over the possible disruption of learning as capitation challenges persist. The school heads say government is yet to disburse a 20% share of the funds for the third term as expected, and warned that they will begin to send students home for fees. With more is Brenda Wanga.
The second week of the third term of the school calendar finds school principals in a bind. Students are in school, but the funds for free basic education from government are yet to reflect in the school's accounts, and that negative bank balance is beginning to bite.
Kwa wakati huu, walimu wakuu wengi wako na shida sana hata kukaa shuleni. Baadhi ya walimu wakuu hata wanajificha kwa sababu suppliers wanawasumbua. Wakikaa shuleni bila hizo fedha kufika ni vigumu sana. Simu ni nyingi sana. Wengi wetu, baadhi yetu tunabadilisha hata simu, namba ya simu kwa sababu tunasumbuliwa sana na suppliers. Na shule kadhaa zimepelekwa kotini pia.
According to the funding policy, the national government is expected to release 50% of the funds to schools for the first term, 30% for the second, and 20% for the third term. Head teachers say the disbursements have been irregular, incomplete, and unreliable.
Even last term, what was given to schools was only 15%, and 15% remained. We are calling upon the government to make sure that the arrears that have been there, because in every year, arrears are there. The government is not paying full.
The delay in releasing the money is not only affecting the delivery of education, especially during this term when students are sitting for exams and assessments, it is also leaving schools sinking in debts. The Teachers Union, KUPPET, and School Heads Associations now want the government to walk the talk on capitation and some of its policies on school fees arrears to parents.
Kuna bidhaa ambazo tunastahili tununue ili tutumie katika masomo for practical subjects. Hatuwezi tukanunua bila hizo fedha. Na baadhi ya suppliers ni wagumu sana kwa sababu shule nyingi ziko na madeni.
Principals have nothing to they must adhere to the directive of the government. But now this once the parents hear that kind of directive, they don't pay a single penny. They just go to schools and demand the certificates of their pupils, their students.
The Parliamentary Committee of Education has weighed in too, asking the government to expeditiously release the funds.
But we are worried, and if you want to destroy a generation, take chances with education with that generation. I think the way the government is going is wrong. Everything now in education sector is in chaos.
The principals say if the government does not disburse the funds as soon as possible, learning in schools will grind to a halt. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
The government has shelved the transfer of payroll for 7,400 universal health coverage staff, UHC workers, to the counties. Instead, the Ministry of Health will pay the workers Salary and Remuneration Commission rates, SRC rates, for the next 1 year before they are transitioned to the devolved units. As you'll hear now from Mary Mwoki, after crunch talks with the Council of Governors, the two levels of government have reached a consensus on payment of SHA claims to county public hospitals by the 14th of every month.
For several months this year, health services across the country have been disrupted following intermittent universal health coverage staff strike across various public health facilities. The over 7,000 staff have taken to the streets several times in protest over discriminatory terms compared to their counterparts who are employed on permanent and pensionable terms. UHC workers can now heave a sigh of relief after the Ministry of Health and the Council of Governors reached a consensus on the transition plan. For the next 10 months, the over 7,000 workers will receive their pay from the Ministry of Health on new enhanced terms beginning in September. The counties will then take over from next financial year after the government allocates sufficient funds to cover the new pay package in perpetuity.
The Council of Governors and the Ministry of Health will work collaboratively to resolve all pertinent issues concerning UHC contracts, and we agree that their contract runs until the end, which is for most of them April, May 2026. But in this intervening period, we pay them at the SRC rates using the money that the ministry has.
The Health CS Aden Duale has assured the county chiefs that the budget would be factored in the Division of Revenue Allocation Bill for the next financial year.
The transition, the issue that is pending is for us to transfer and for the counties to do permanent and pensionable. The money must be factored in and seen in the Division of Revenue Act. The next Division of Revenue Act is next year financial year. So we have agreed the money Treasury has provided, so that 7.7 will be transferred and will be factored in and will feature in the Division of Revenue Bill. And that is when the issue of our UHRC finally will be completed.
A special committee has been formed comprising of 5 governors and MOH officials to address all the issues that have been affecting the county government on matters health. The team is expected to meet medical unions on Monday to come up with modalities of resolving all pending issues within the health sector. Mary Mwoki, Citizen TV.
Supreme, with that report by Melita Olatenges, we go into a break on the Explainer. But remember what you have to look forward to on the other side. We have the Chief Conservator of Forests, the Kenya Forest Service, Alex Lemarkoko. We get into matters forest with him. And we also have the Chair of the Council of Governors, and that is the Wajir Governor, Ahmed Abdullahi. And we get into matters e-procurement and impeachment. Stay tuned. Coming up on Power Talk, Alex Lemarkoko, Chief Conservator of Forests, Kenya Forest Service, unpacks the progress of tree growing towards 30% tree cover. All right, time now for Power Talk. And as I've mentioned severally in the course of this news hour, we are joined by the Chief Conservator of Forests, Kenya Forest Service, Alex Lemarkoko. Karibu sana.
Asante.
So we're going to delve into a number of issues. Karura e-Citizen, we are going to look at the tree planting target of 15 billion by 2032. Where are we? What remains to be done? And then the Africa Champion of Trees Award, which was recently launched, and by yourself and Blue Focus Africa, and what it means for attaining this target. Let's start with Karura. So recently we saw protests at the entrance, staff saying they were denied entry. We have the Community Forest Association, which has moved to court, challenging the transition to e-Citizen. So they tell us there's a joint management committee and they were not consulted. Is that the case?
Well, thank you very much, Olive, for giving me this opportunity to highlight key issues that are affecting forestry this time. Kenyans. It is very important for us to, first of all, appreciate the fact that Kenya Forest Service is a public institution that is mandated to manage, conserve, and protect all forests in this country, including Karura Forest. We don't work by ourselves. We work together with other stakeholders, key of them being the community forest associations. So when there has been a lot of falsehood being spread by some members of the FKF, and this is not good for Kenya.
So when you say FKF mean the Friends of Karura,
Friends of Karura
Forest?
Correct, yeah. Mm-hmm. So Kenya Forest Service is an institution that has that observes integrity, and the main issue here is that because of government directive that all government services migrate to the digital platform, that is e-citizen, all forests have already migrated. 179 forest stations, all of them we have migrated services. All payments are through now e-citizens everywhere. Of course, there was some delay in implementing the same for Karura Forest because of a number of processes that we had to undertake, given that Karura Forest, the FKF have taken time to digest and understand this process. There has always been a lot of resistance from them also. And for now, after consultations that have taken place since last year, now we have agreed through meetings that we have undertaken together with them and our ministry and the directive from our ministry, and now we have migrated already.
So you're saying there were consultations?
There were consultations. And the main issue is that the issue of migration to e-citizen, much as we need to consult and inform, it's actually a directive. It's law. It is founded on the law.
Okay.
Because, yeah.
Let me ask you what it means for those who are employed, right, by the Joint Management Committee.
Yeah.
Because my understanding is that there's a joint account.
Correct.
From whatever is collected from Karura, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's a joint account. Yeah. There's representatives from KFS. There's representatives from the Friends of Karura Forest. So what does the migration then to e-citizen mean?
Well, migration to e-citizen basically means that the mode of collections of get charges and all other charges, all those payments will have to be paid through that platform, that e-citizen. It means it's not going to be paid through the other platform that were actually being used by the joint management. It has to move now to the public platform, which is now the e-citizen. So it does not mean anything else. It means all the collections will have to be collected through that e-citizen, but does not deny the FKF and the employees of Karura, does not deny them the employment. They will still be employed and they will still be considered as employees of Karura.
All right, just one more question on that because of time, and I want to look at the tree planting targets.
Yeah.
The Professor Njoroge Karanja of FKF stated in an interview, "Let nobody tell you that KFS has spent money to save Karura. They were there when it was being grabbed, they did nothing. They were there when bodies were being dumped, they did nothing."
Oh, well, that's not true. In fact, the main issue here is that Professor is not telling the truth, because in fact there has been an audit that was carried out by our ministry, and in fact a number of issues were unveiled. You'll be shocked at the kind of embezzlement of funds by FKF. In fact, the joint obligation of the parties requires that, if I may read Section 13, that an account jointly run by the parties in a bank approved by the service. This bank is not, all revenues from Karura and entrance gates are supposed to be paid into that bank. The problem is, the other requirement is that parties shall prepare a work plan, a budget that must be approved by Kenya Forest Service. The Friends of Karura have not been submitting their budgets and work plans to the Kenya Forest Service. So The other major non-compliance is that they have not been submitting certified accounts to Kenya Forest Service Board. And that is a major deviation from the agreement. If I may read what actually it means, there was actually fraudulent financial practices involving public funds that are being collected by FKF. And that is a matter that needs to be investigated further. There was also manipulation and misrepresentation of surplus revenue that was being reported by FKF. There was also willful and non-disclosure of financial records, suggesting bad faith. There was also failure to submit work plans. And there was also absence of financial statements, bank balances, and internal financial systems. The conclusion basically means, although we are in agreement, we are two parties. One party is actually frustrating the contract between ourselves. So we have a problem. So that's the reason why the ministry undertook the audit, and we were able to find all this. Now, the problem is FKF is not informing Kenyans these issues that have been unveiled. They are only telling us that Karura is being grabbed. They're also telling us that there's a road going through Karura. No, it's not true. You cannot grab a forest now. The current Forest Conservation and Management Act is so stringent. Section 34 provides that before you actually alter a boundary, you have to undertake so many processes that it's practically impossible to grab a forest in this Kenya of today. So, in fact, grabbing of a forest is no longer an issue. It's past tense. So, what I would say myself is that FKF needs to speak the truth, stop deviating from the main agenda. The main agenda is that we must transform and we must transit from the other manner of collection of funds to the e-citizen. And it does not change the structure of FKF. All staff will continue to work. And KFS is going to facilitate that through the joint account.
All right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that we could go into that, but because of time, I'll ask that we press pause on that particular conversation. They had sought right of reply. Unfortunately, that was not possible tonight, but we will give them occasion to respond. And part of the issues was, why does a forest need tarmac?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a forest. Actually, the issue is that we have a headquarter which is located inside the forest. The headquarter has a network of roads that links the headquarter with the staff quarters, with the canteen area, with the information center, with the senior staff houses. All those roads, we were able to secure support from one of our stakeholders who opted to do 3.2 kilometers of roads within the Karura. That is why we are doing it. It's not going into the forest.
All right. Yeah. Now, recently, as I mentioned, the Africa Champion of Trees Awards were launched. Yeah. I think there are 8 categories under those awards. Tell us a little bit about why these awards and how they will contribute to the attainment of the tree planting target of 15 billion by 2032.
These awards is basically about recognizing, identifying the champions, those ones who are basically engaging in tree growing, conservation, and all other activities, including even supporting conservation and tree growing. All those champions, comprising of individuals, corporates, government institutions, including even the county governments, and other special categories like even the media, those ones that are contributing towards the success of tree growing in this country in accordance with the strategy for the 15 billion. These are the people that we want to recognize. And in fact, we are going to have a major event on 24th of October where we are going to recognize them and we are going to actually reward them.
All right.
Yes.
So where are we? So this is in October.
Yes.
And I visited the website and you talked about this is not just about celebrating those who are contributing towards growing our forest cover and also restoring forests, but this is a call to action.
Yes.
Is that the case?
Correct. It's a call to action because basically we are not just recognizing, we are also harnessing efforts of all Kenyans in the whole society, all government or society approach, whereby every individual Kenyan and every individual institution or organization is encouraged to engage in tree growing.
All right. So where are we with the target? What are the challenges? Because I read that funding is a challenge.
It's a challenge, yeah. Of course, you are very much aware that this strategy was launched by none other than Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the head of state, on 21st of December 2022. That is when he launched. And he planted the first 5,600 trees in Ngong Forest. And they're all surviving, all 100%. And this is when now he unveiled the ecosystem, landscape and ecosystem restoration program. Of course, for you to succeed in tree growing, you need to have seeds. You need to have seedlings raised. You need to plant them. You need to protect and nurture the growth until now we have trees. For now, we're putting more effort on our infrastructure. How can we raise more seedlings that will be available for tree planting? As of now, we are at 850 million so far. Not very good in terms of achievement, because we still need to attain the 1.5 billion. But it's because we are putting more effort now on the infrastructure to raise seedlings and also to ensure that whatever is planted can actually grow.
All right. So I will leave it there. I want to thank you, Alex Lemarkoko, who is the Chief Conservator of Forests, the Kenya Forest Service. We take a break, but the Explainer continues on the other side.
Okay.
Thank you for staying with us on The Explainer. Police in Nyamira have launched a manhunt for a 22-year-old man who allegedly confessed to killing his girlfriend and burying her body in a shallow grave. The man, identified as Gideon Makori, is said to have been in a relationship with Faith Kemunto, who was reported missing in July. And as Laura Otieno reports, police are also seeking exhumation orders in order to assist with investigations.
Panic and fear gripped residents of Maosi village after officers from the homicide squad cordoned a section of the road within the village. It is here that the remains of 20-year-old Faith Kemunto lay. Kemunto left home in June with her phone while nibbling a mango. A 1-month search yielding fruit on Monday after a strange message came to her sister-in-law's phone sent by Kemunto's alleged boyfriend, identified as Gideon Makori.
Ilikuwa inaandikwa eti huyu Fei tulimusika kwa uko chuma usi mahali masimu walikuwa wanatoa mchanga karibu na tanki. Sasa nikawacha tu wakaenda.
The two are set to join university this week. Police are now searching for the 22-year-old suspect identified as Gideon Makori.
Tuchakuwa na matatizo yoyote, bila alikuwa anatoka shule, anakaa nyumbani, na kitu tu naomba kwa serikali inisaidie ama itusaidie utatua hiyo matatizo yote.
Watoto wa shule wakwenda university wengi wamekufa, na danganya ama ni ukweli? Kwa hii mwezi tu wa university ndio wamekufa. Unasikia mara mwingine amechomwa aki, mwingine alifa mtu hapa chini aki. Jameni, vijana wetu wameisha, tunaelekea wapi?
Police are also seeking court orders to exhume the body while searching for the prime suspect. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
1.5 million Kenyans who do not have the ability to pay the Social Health Authority contributions will be paid for by the government starting next week. Making the announcement, President William Ruto said the government's intervention will enable the 1.5 million Kenyans to make their contributions in order to access quality health care. The president was speaking when he met a delegation from Turkana County at State House.
And I'm going to have a meeting next week
with our members of parliament, with governors. Sisi, I am going to pay for $1.5 million as national government. Mimi nataka governors walipie another maybe 1 million. Hao wabunge, every MP hako na pesa anaweza kulipia wale watu maskini katika constituency yake. So that we can... Tunaelewana, my friends? We must be deliberate. Saa hizi, kuna hospitali tunawatumia pesa kwa kutitu wananchi wanashangaa. Because they have never seen. Yeah? Because they have never seen money being sent.
Members of Parliament allied to the Kenya Kwanza government are urging their counterparts in the opposition to stop criticizing the government without offering alternative policies. And speaking in his rural home, where he hosted hundreds of youth, the Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki, challenged the youth to continue asking hard questions on the country's governance. Nyamira with that report.
An empowerment initiative in Kitale, Trans Nzoia County provided a platform for women leaders affiliated to President William Ruto to castigate the opposition over their continuous bashing of the government.
Wakati wa siasa sio sahi. Constitution yetu inasema tunapochagua viongozi wanaenda kwa miaka ngapi? Kwa hivyo kitu kiema ambacho tunatakana kufanya ni kurekebisha na kusaidia kiongozi.
The leaders pledged to continue supporting President Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga for the benefit of their constituencies.
Unangojea tena baba akuje hapa ndiye akwambie unajua tuko broad base. Sasa alishasema akisimama huko Nyanza, ukisikiza baba vizuri, tena naongeanga na lugha ya nyumbani, anakuelezea vizuri, ukae ndani hapo upate ile yako ya miaka 30 amepambania hii nchi.
Sisi tuko ndani ya serikali kwa sababu baba amesema, na hatutoki kwa sababu sisi hatulii soko. Sisi tukitaka soko ni simu tunapiga, tukitaka stadium ni simu tunapiga.
Elsewhere, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki engaged with youth leaders, artists, content creators and musicians from Embu County at his home in Irondoni, Tharaka Nithi County, where he assured them that the Kenya Kwanza administration is deliberately finding solutions to the challenges facing the youth, including unemployment.
If we will have created 1 million jobs under affordable housing markets and hostels, 1 million jobs under Kazi Mtandaoni, 1 million jobs under Kazi Maju, 1 million jobs and another assortment of jobs, including the Kazi Mtaani climate work. So you have like lifted 4, 5, 6 million young people from joblessness and hopelessness. And you can now request for more time to do more.
Nyamira, Citizen TV.
As commercial banks shift to a new risk-based pricing model pegged on the Kenya shilling overnight interbank average, Kenyans with poor credit history may soon face higher borrowing costs. Central Bank Governor Kamau Thuge says the model is not meant to lock anyone out of the financial system, but high-risk borrowers will pay more compared to low-risk ones. Jimmy Mbogo with that report.
In the next 3 months, commercial banks are expected to have transitioned to the new risk-based credit pricing models, with new loans expected to be priced using the new framework beginning December 1st. But the framework, whose aim was to unlock credit to the private sector, could have dire consequences for Kenyan borrowers with poor credit history. Unlike the previous framework, which had been in place since 2019 and required the approval from the central bank, the new framework will only require approval from individual banks' boards, an issue that could see interest on loans disadvantage some segment of the population.
If you are a very risky customer and you don't pay your loans on time, it's not that you are prevented from accessing credit. The credit will be there, but the price will be high.
The central bank pegging its hopes for lower rates on the openness that will be brought by the new framework, hoping that it will serve to push competitiveness in the banking sector and ensure Kenyans enjoy lower rates or move to banks that will offer credit at a lower premium K, which comprises of the bank's operating costs related to lending, return to shareholder, and the borrower's risk premium, having standardized the base rate for all banks. Unlike what was the case previously, where banks had different base rates, making it difficult for borrowers to determine the bank with better offers.
Under the new framework, yes, the base is known. The K, we will be able to get the details of the K as the regulator. Yeah. And, for the risk part, we'll be able to look and see whether it makes sense from a qualitative point of view, a quantitative point of view, so that it's also not used to as a way to just raise rates without really a foundation for raising the rates.
To ensure compliance, banks will be required to report both their average lending rate and their average premium K monthly, with the regulator expressing optimism that the new framework will bear fruits, arguing that the previous framework was skewed to banks' advantage.
When the rates would go up, the commercial banks would immediately raise their rates. But when the time came to really stimulate the economy and get more credit going to the private sector by reducing the policy rate, the CBR, we saw some reluctance on the part of the banks to lower their rates.
Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Kenya is stepping up efforts to woo investors with more incentives, including tax benefits and capital gains exemptions, as part of its push for climate-smart innovation and job creation. Speaking during the entry of multinational developer Haunen at Tatu City, Kenya Investment Authority CEO John Mwendwa said the government is keen to position special economic zones as plug-and-play ecosystems to attract global capital. The projects are expected to create more than 2,500 jobs and make Kenya the hub of the company's sub-Saharan Africa operations.
Economic zones and special economic zones in particular play a very critical role in attracting investments, and we believe it really presents an opportunity to aggregate investments, especially for both global and export markets. And we believe Kenya offers a compelling vision and proposition for the special economic zones regime.
So in terms of the technical expertise, Kenya has it to support this project. In terms of local labor, there's plentiful labor around Tatu City, so we'll see a lot of construction jobs. But then as the development completes, on the real estate side, we'll see lots of jobs in retail, in offices. Those will come from the local community.
Small-scale fish farmers in Busia are warning that escalating production costs are putting the future of aquaculture at risk. This is despite its potential to drive rural incomes and food security. Farmers say the price of quality fish feed, which makes up to 70% of production costs, has forced many to rely on food scraps to feed the fish, resulting in lower yields and diminished earnings. The country's aquaculture industry, valued at more than 20 billion shillings annually, has seen stagnation in recent years due to high input costs. Experts say that Busia, a key producer along the Lake Victoria Basin, could significantly expand supply.
Ziko na samaki zenye hata ukienda kutoa samaki ile ndogo ndogo ukienda kuuza haupati pesa mingi. Kwa vile tukipata mtu wa kusaidia ila tuletea samaki kwa fish point, tutainuka sana. Hata tutasaidia jamii na watoto, tutajua venye tutajitegemea wenyewe. Wakubwa wetu ndio naona wako na makosa. Kama hangekuwa anakuja huku chini kutembelea kulima, wangetufaidisha leo kwa sababu hatujui venye tunaweza kuwapata.
We are just appealing to the government because this is a devolved function. We are appealing to the county government that they should send their officers to come and train these youth, guide them, these old men, waelekezwe, wafundishwe, waelezwe ni vipi wanaweza fuga hizi samaki ili mazao yao iwe ni bora zaidi. We are also appealing to the national government because one thing I've seen is that the food is very expensive. Yeah, a sack of fish feed is going at about 7,000.
The national football team, Harambee Stars, is banking on home ground advantage as the 2026 World Cup qualifying matches resume on Friday. Harambee Stars will host Gambia at Kasarani, a venue that hosted all their CHAN matches without them losing a single match. Harambee Stars played 5 matches at Kasarani, winning 3 in an identical 1-0 scoreline against the DRC, Morocco and Zambia. The Stars also drew 1-1 in matches against Angola and Madagascar. Harambee Stars are 10 points behind Ivory Coast in the World Cup qualifiers and will want to improve on their 4th place ranking in the group with 2 wins in the next phase of the qualifiers. Fans will once again play a key role in both matches.
You know, it's really motivating to see the turnout, and I hope that they can continue to support the national team, and not even the national team. We also urge them to come in the local league matches to support the clubs. Let it not just end with the national team. Let also support our locals club so that they can also get revenues from the gate collections. They can also have give the players the exposure to play in this high level kind of games, because with this kind of atmosphere, then we get the best out of the players.
Don't worry, Harambee Stars, we are fully behind you. Harambee Stars opponents, the Scorpions of the Gambia, are already in town and will be banking on the experience of their coach, Jonathan McKinstry, to surprise their hosts on Friday. McKinstry was record Kenya champions Gor Mahia coach before his appointment as the Gambia coach. Unlike Kenya, who have only 9 foreign-based players in their squad, Gambia's entire 24-man squad plays in Europe, led by English Premier League side Brighton forward Yankuba Minte. Coach McKinstry says he is aware of the Kenyan fighting spirit he first experienced in their first encounter that ended 3-3, Kenya coming from 2 goals down. Qualification to the World Cup is a tall order for now, and Gambia is focused on winning against Kenya and Burundi, both matches in Nairobi. Minte and his coach say the atmosphere at Kasarani will not favor them.
The aim is to try and collect 3 points. We know that's not going to be easy because we expect there to be a very sort of hostile environment. The Kenyan supporters will come out in their tens of thousands to support the Harambee Stars. We've seen that through the CHAN tournament, you know, very well supported games here at Kasarani. Obviously Kasarani holds lots of good memories for me. I think my own last 2 games here were trophy winning games in terms of the Charity Shield and the final of the league a couple of years ago. But all of that doesn't count for anything. We've got to go on and put a performance and look to try and win the game.
FKF Premier League champions Police FC opened their Sekafa Kagame Cup account with a resounding 4-0 thrashing of Djibouti's Garde Cortes in an early afternoon kickoff in Zanzibar. Eric Zakayo opened the floodgates in the 17th minute of the match, with David Simiu adding the second goal at the half-hour mark. Police led 2-0 at the break, and in the second half, Baraka Badi made it 3-0 in the 64th minute. New signing Edward Ondemu, fresh from playing at the CHAN tournament, sealed the win with the 4th goal in the 83rd minute. Manchester City goalkeeper Ederson has moved to the Turkish side Fenerbahçe to transfer on transfer deadline day. The deadline deal comes as City completed the signing of Italian number 1 Gianluigi from Paris Saint-Germain, having already resigned academy product James Trafford from Burnley earlier in the window. The Italian number 1 had been effectively axed from the PSG squad by manager Luis Enrique, despite playing an instrumental role in their historic treble-winning campaign last season. Donnarumma confirmed he would be leaving the French capital on August 12th when he was left out of PSG's UEFA Super Cup lineup, with new signing Luca Chevalier starting in goal for the first 4 matches of the new season. The 26-year-old has captained Italy since Euro 2024. Defending US Open champion Jannik Sinner continued his stellar run at the hard-court Grand Slams with a 6-1, 6-1, 6-1 hammering of Alexander Bublik to make the quarterfinals at Flushing Meadows. The Italian top seed came into the clash at Arthur Ashe Stadium looking for his 25th straight match win on his preferred surface. Sinner never looked in any trouble against a tricky opponent after shooting out of the blocks. A double break helped Sinner build a 4-0 lead before Bublik could even get on the board. And the dominant 24-year-old wrapped up the opening set with another break. Bublik's attempt to disrupt Sinner's rhythm with more drop shots proved futile, but it was his service errors that left him trailing by 2 sets before Sinner won his 8th straight major quarterfinal. All right, take a break on the Explainer, but as promised, we sit down with the chair of the Council of Governors, Ahmed Abdullahi, and we get into matters e-procurement, UHC, and impeachment.